My name is Lisa Phillips. I'm a member of the law faculty here at York University, and it's my privilege to serve as the moderator of today's town hall meeting. Let me tell you how we're going to proceed. In a moment, I'm going to introduce the president, who's going to give us an opening presentation of 15 to 20 minutes. He's then going to be joined on stage by the vice presidents who are here with us as well, and then we will have a good amount of time for some Q&A. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Mamdouh Shoukri, President and Vice-Chancellor of York University.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to York University's Town Hall meeting. It is indeed great to see so many of you coming here this morning in order to share with me some discussion about the future of our great institution. But before I share our vision for the future, I thought it would be appropriate to say a few words about the history of York University. After all, as you plan for the future, it is important to understand our past. As you all know, York University is not the traditional university. We didn't have centuries in which to go and develop and know what works and what doesn't work. Compared to other universities, at 52 years old, York is relatively a young university. The 1950s, the time of our founding, was an exciting period of time for universities in Ontario. More students were going to university. In fact, enrollment was expected to double in the following decade. Students were enrolling because they were witnessing a link between post-secondary education and scientific and economic advancement in society. Some would even argue that the launching of Sputnik, the Soviet space satellite, prompted this realization, symbolizing the competition of the Cold War about advances in knowledge and in science. This was a catalyst for change, and from that stemmed a great wave of planning for university growth and expansion. Most of the existing universities of the time were reluctant to grow, and hence there was a decision to create new university, and hence was the birth of York University. In fact, we are frequently referred to as the first of that wave of post-secondary education growth. York was incorporated in 1959, and the biggest task facing the Board of Governors was the actual development of the university, and particularly the future character of the university. After some deliberation by the York Board of Governors, it was decided that the universities, as a starting point, will be comprised of the following: a residential college known as Glendon College, an evening college for part-time adult students from different backgrounds, generations, and socioeconomic circumstances. This is the Atkinson College, and a large multi-faculty urban campus that was planned for an enrollment of 7,000 to 10,000 students. The Keele site was considered because of its location as an ideal location, as the city was seen to grow in the northwest direction. It was also seen as a place where future traffic and highway arteries and so on will make it very accessible. Originally, the plan was to reach 7,000 student enrollment in 1980. In the 70s, that was changed to expected to reach about 15,000 students in 1980. However, by 1980, York was already 25,000 students, an unprecedented growth of enrollment. In the beginning, the curriculum focused on general and liberal education in arts and science. And by the late 60s, there was a discussion, actually, we have the records for that, with a discussion about adding 3 professional schools: education, engineering and architecture, and medicine. While education ended up being the focus, and that was actually driven by changes of the nature of teachers' education in the province. University aspirations, as articulated in all the subsequent strategic planning exercises, included the aspiration to have an engineering school and a medical school. So that brings us to today. Over the years, we have transformed into a leading interdisciplinary research and teaching institution, and while continuing to hold dear York's original values of commitment to accessibility, social responsibility, and academic excellence. We have a student population of 55,000, almost 250,000 alumni worldwide, and a budget of $900 million, making us the second largest university in Ontario and the third largest university in Canada. This rapid growth was driven by clear realization of the important post-secondary education for young people, for their future career, and for future evolution and development as citizens. We have much to be proud of. We have the leading departments in humanities and social sciences. We have the leading faculties in business and law. And our fine arts program is second to none. We have excellent faculties of science, environmental studies, and the largest faculty of health. We also have the only French and bilingual post-secondary education programs in Southern Ontario. So we have a lot to be proud of. Last year was an incredible year. We've had many successes. Just look at the success in creating new infrastructure for our students to enjoy a better learning environment and for our faculty to pursue their research. Completing the construction of a new life sciences building, completing the expansion and innovation of the Osgoode Hall Law School, completing, which is about to happen in January, the Glendon Center of Excellence, the Sherman Health Research Sciences Building. These are incredible infrastructures that have been created in the last year or completed in the last year that will make it possible for us to pursue our dreams and build a strong foundation for the future. We had many successes in many other areas. Our researchers have succeeded in securing significant research funding. I'm always reminded by a special one, the $5 million from a major collaborative research initiative at SHIRC, which is really the most important SHIRC competition of the year. Our researchers secured $5 million, which was an incredible achievement. We are recognized as a campus sustainability leader by the College Sustainability Report. And the list really goes on and on about our successes. Even to my delight, our men's soccer team won the championship again. Now, we have all of this foundation and all of that strength. But to think in the future, we have to ensure that our future evolution is guided by a clearly articulated plan. We have invested a great deal of efforts in the last couple of years in strategic planning exercises to make sure we have the roadmap for the future. The white paper led by the provost, the UAP approved by Senate, developed, which was actually, both of them were developed through an extensive consultative process that included everybody on campus. They actually reflect, these two documents reflect the university's aspiration and outline a roadmap for the future. If you look at this document from a very broad perspective, what did we say? They really reflect a strong commitment to three broad strategic objectives: academic excellence, student success, and community engagement. But within these broad strategic objectives, there are several clearly defined priorities for the future. Examples of them: research intensification, increasing the scope of our academic programs to be aligned with the needs of society and the needs of our future students. Increasing the first-year experience, enhancing the first-year experience, increasing the number of full-time faculty, introducing more experiential learning opportunities and more international engagement opportunities for our students. Certainly, the objective of comprehensiveness continues to be a major priority in the strategic planning exercises. So here we are. At 52 years old, we are at the doorsteps of becoming a world-class teaching and research institution. We have the strong foundation, and we have the roadmap. But our success will depend on our ability to change and deal with challenges that are facing the entire post-secondary education system in general, and those who are facing York in particular. So, again, with all of these foundations that we have, the strength of the university, people in the university, the fact that we have a roadmap plan, a roadmap where we know where we want to be, it is really important to identify these challenges. From a broad perspective, from a point of view of the entire post-secondary sector, I see three major challenges. First, fiscal sustainability. We have to ensure that we have the revenues that allow us to achieve our dreams. We have to simply ensure that our expenses do not exceed our revenues. This is a serious problem. It is reflected the way we are funded. As you know, that our grant, government grant per student is not indexed. That's to say it has not increased with inflation for so long. That puts us in a very difficult position. That makes it clear to us that we have to find ways to become a more efficient organization. We also have to find a way, together with our colleagues and as York University, to interact with government, whoever wins the election, to make sure that these issues are clear. Financial sustainability of post-secondary education system as a whole, and York in particular, is an important issue that needs to be discussed. Second challenge is the quality of education in general. How do we improve the quality of education? How to make sure that the programs we offer, both York and all post-secondary educations, are reflective of the needs of society and are indeed preparing the students for the future careers and, more importantly, the future ability to function as citizens. What about things like class size? What about faculty to student ratio? What about the use of the effective use of the technology that's available to us and has been available to us for a long time to make sure that students are getting the best programs we can offer? This is not, again, a simple issue. I think we're doing well, we're moving forward as a sector and as a university, but this will be a challenge that will be with us for a while. The third challenge, in my opinion, is the threat to institutional autonomy. And that threat comes from so many of our partners, including government, mostly government, and other organizations as well. I mean, you look around, the government is getting more and more into university campuses by determining what they're willing to fund, what they're not willing to fund, by discussing issues like differentiation, like deciding without consultation that we should have satellite campuses. I mean, there are so many things that, and I see this increasing, not decreasing. How do we deal with this? There are many ways to deal with this, and of course, all of them will involve interacting and reaching out to government and other interest groups in the country, and making sure that we do also our best to ensure that our aspirations are aligned with the public policy objectives so that we can actually benefit from that rather than make this a disadvantage. However, it will be an issue that will stay with us. Now, these are just broadly spelled out the challenges as I see that they are facing the entire post-secondary education system. What about York? I think of course, we have all of these challenges, but we have some special challenges. And as I promised you, I will always be straight and frank with you. We have other challenges on this campus that we need to deal with in order to reach our potential. Challenges like our reputation. I've been on this campus 4 years. I knew that when I first arrived. I know that more than ever. York University is stronger and 10 times, 100 times better than it is perceived outside this campus. That's what I call a reputational problem. This is an issue, we have to deal with it. Administration cannot deal with it by itself. We have to do our best, but this is an issue that will stay with us. We have to work very hard on this. Another issue, which is not unrelated to reputation, is the issue of perceived security and safety on campus. I say perceived because the data suggests that our campus is a very safe campus. Notwithstanding what I have been saying all along, that one incident is one too many, and we will do our best to minimize that and eliminate that. But put everything together, still there is a perception out there that York is not as safe as it really is. So that's a perception we need to deal with. The other one is pretty obvious to everybody, is a historic problem that existed among different groups on campus, employee groups and the administration and so on. Again, these are issues we need to overcome and we need to deal with them. And change does not happen overnight. Change happens over a period of time through a sustained effort that we have to do together. So the question becomes, with all of these challenges that facing the entire system, how does York fare in this? I sincerely believe that York has an advantage. We have an advantage over all other universities in our potential capacity to deal with these challenges. Just look around. As I said earlier, we have the academic strength. We have the people who are dedicated and willing to work hard. We also have the location. We are in the one location in the province that expects growth in population. We have the land. We can choose to grow, or we can create opportunities to create revenue streams for this university in order to sustain it financially in the long term. We have the subway coming in, which will make us an incredible hub for the city and for the province. We have so many things going for us. And it is our opportunity, and that's why I think this is the time for York to rise. I'm not suggesting it will be easy or things are perfect. We have to continue working hard on this and deal with our issues. First, I think we have to be more efficient. I alluded to that earlier when I talked about the challenges. We have to be a more efficient organization. That's why operational efficiency is one of my important priorities, and I've talked about this since I arrived. Our organization that was created and when we came into existence may not be valid today. We cannot continue to be run as a small university while we are the third largest university in the country and one of the largest 10 or so universities in North America. We cannot, I believe we continue to run as if we are a small university. And we have to deal with this. And that's why we're taking this very seriously. We are introducing PRAISE, the Process Reengineering and Service Enhancement Initiative that's led by Patrick Monahan and Gary Brewer. The goal is to develop a more effective services and better, more efficient use of our resources. I remind you that a more efficient organization leads to a more engaged and happier workforce. Workforce that feel trusted and empowered. And this is having a happy, cohesive workforce that feels valued, that feels trusted, and that feels empowered is a prerequisite to achieve any of the goals that I have cited earlier. I don't want to be just simply a good place to work. I want York to be a great place to work. Part of valuing and respecting people is having those who feel that they are making a difference. And this is what the Better Workplace Initiative is all about. It is led by Rhonda Linton and Sharon Hooper, And the objective is about making sure that we have the system that enables people, we have the system that makes people feel valued, respected, and listened to. Change is not going to happen overnight, but we have a solid foundation, and I believe things are happening. Things are happening. I believe we're on track. We have all the pieces to move forward. But what we need is to put all the pieces together and to continue to work together. Let me give you just an example of a great opportunity that is before us, and we are making it happen, that has come as a result of looking at the environment around us, looking at the challenges, and convert challenges into opportunity. I'm going to say a few words about the initiative to expand engineering and build a faculty of engineering. Why this is a good example of seizing an incredible opportunity in time and turning the challenges into an opportunity. You look around, to start with, there's no university with more than 50,000 students in North America that does not have strong professional schools. This, engineering and in fact medicine and architecture as well, they were part of the original plan for York University and continue to be part of our aspiration. But being part of our aspiration and being something that exists in all universities our size is hardly a good reason to have it. But let's look at the surrounding environment. Is there a demand? Well, if you look at the application to Ontario universities over the last 5 years, the highest increase in number of applications happened to application in engineering, increased by more than 30% in the last 5 years alone. Our area, our region, is growing in population in a significant way. It is the area that will experience most of the growth in Ontario. The area is made, the population would be mostly made up of immigrants and children of immigrants who have the tendency to send their children to professional schools. So the market is there. You look around, this is also the area which has the potential to become a driver for economic and social development in the region. Look, the statistics show very clearly the significant number of existing and evolving small and medium-sized companies that are evolving in the York region and the northern part of the GTA, northwestern part of the GTA, that are based on high tech. So the opportunity is enormous. And the demand is enormous. Building a strong faculty of engineering at York University today will be a catalyst for creating an innovation cluster for improving and the development of economic and social prosperity in this region, the way the engineering school in Kitchener-Waterloo was in 1957 when they started. So this is a great opportunity. And that's why, in the middle of all of these financial difficulties, it was not difficult to go to government and talk about it and find an alignment with what the government wants, what industry wants. And the first investment came in what you heard about lately, $50 million from the government in this difficult financial situation for the starting faculty of engineering at York University. Of course, we have very strong engineering programs, but they are very small and very limited in the scope. And I can assure you, and I'm not willing to talk about some of these now, I can assure you there will be a flood of support coming once we move and do our part. So this is a good example, is that even in the middle of the most difficult times, you have an opportunity and you can turn your challenges into an opportunity. And most important thing is that it is done on our terms. This is something our founders discussed and wanted to do back in the mid-60s. In fact, I have the report dated 1963 about this, but they chose education for good reasons at the time, and they remained as an aspiration for us. So that brings me back to the most important thing, our students, the number one priority and the reason we exist. When I talk about academic excellence, student success, and community engagement, it is about creating a better learning environment for students with new programs, new opportunities that are relevant to their future careers and relevant to their future evolution as citizens. We want our students to be able to think broadly, to imagine new things, and to build and create networks and opportunities. In order for this to happen, we need to work together, and we most certainly will need your help. Now, I know, as usual, I probably spoke more than I should, but so let me conclude by saying that in 52 years, the goal that York University would become one of the leading teaching and research universities continue to become a reality. York has much more to offer. We have much more to be proud of and much more to offer. We have an incredible culture of student success, academic excellence, and community engagement, and we have the York spirit. I hope that you share the sense that York is truly a special place and take pride in what we have accomplished together. And I'll tell you something, and I feel very strongly about this as the 7th president of this university. I feel that I'm truly blessed. I'm blessed by being surrounded by outstanding people, by outstanding colleagues, staff, faculty, outstanding group of students, and I feel we are really together in this journey. And I feel that I'm blessed because I have the opportunity to be the president at the time which York will reach its potential. Thank you for joining with me today, and it was a great pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shoukri. And if you'd like to take your seat on the stage, and I'll ask the Vice Presidents if you could also come up and join us. I'm going to give the Vice Presidents a chance to introduce themselves. There are nameplates, but they might be a little bit too small to read from some of the far reaches of the room. And while people are taking their seats, I also just want to welcome those who are joining us by webcast. If we could just start down at the far end of the table with Vice President, can you introduce yourselves, each of you, with your title?
Vice President of Finance and Administration.
Good morning, Rob Tiffin, Vice President of Students. Patrick Monahan, I'm the Vice President Academic and Provost.
I'm Jennifer Sloan, Vice President, University Relations.
Good morning, I'm Robert Hache, Vice President, Research and Innovation.
All right, wonderful. I think we're ready to begin Q&A. Now, you can, of course, raise questions in person in the audience, and we have a group of student ambassadors who are in red T-shirts who are going to be roving around with microphones, so you don't even have to leave your seat. If you prefer not to speak into a microphone, you can also send a question in by Twitter, and of course, our webcast participants are welcome to do the same. The hashtag is YUTownHall, all one word, of course. And we welcome that. We've had a few questions by email in advance of the town hall, and I will be starting off with one of those. But just before I get started, I do have some requests for all the participants today. One is that you, for questioners, you keep your questions as concise as you can so that we can include as many as we can in the session. I'm going to take one question for openers from each speaker. You might have time for a follow-up, but again, I want to include as many as possible. And for our VPs and the President, I will ask you also to keep your answers concise if you can. I'm hoping for sort of a maximum of 2 minutes, and I'm sure I won't need to intervene with this crowd. They'll be very obedient. All right, so if we can begin then with a question that was submitted in advance by email, and thank you to the questioner. Last year, York launched Praise and Better Workplace. We heard about that a moment ago. I was wondering if you could let us know what progress has been made on these projects, how much money has York saved, and what has happened to make York a better place to work. President Shoukri, did you want to take that? Would you like to defer to the Provost?
One of the co-chairs will probably want to take that.
Gary, do you want to comment on that?
I guess at the end of the table, the buck stops here. Actually, I think it's a great question, and obviously these, both Praise and the Better Workplace, are two very, very significant and important initiatives that the university has undertaken. To remind folks that Praise was actually initiated last fall, and it went through an initial phase which included the use of an outside consultant, PwC. Their report, which examined 8 areas across the university at a reasonable level of detail involving staff from across the university, was brought forward in March of this year. That was followed by a public consultation process over the spring, following which, led by Provost Monahan and myself, we took the results of the PwC report, the results of the consultation process, and determined, in fact, that while there's quite a range of opportunities possible for the university to pursue in terms of greater efficiencies and enhancements to service, we identified 4 particular streams that seemed to be the initial areas that we should pursue. Those were in the areas of finance and human resources, information technology, services for students, and a planning and accountability stream. So over the course of the summer, we advertised, interviewed, and selected project directors to lead the work for this next phase of praise. Those project directors, in fact, have been appointed and started their new roles about 2 weeks ago. They're still in the process of putting together more detailed work plans and the specific initiatives that will be undertaken. So at this point, it's a little early yet to begin to report either savings or service enhancements. Over the course of the fall, we would expect to see a considerable amount of information start to come through about the particular initiatives that will be unfolding related to praise. I think it's fair to say, though, there's already a number of things already in the pipeline. I can think of a couple of examples in the finance area that, in fact, give us a bit of a running start as those plans take shape. Similar for the HR area. We've got some projects already underway to make greater use of the technology or make new investments that I think we will be able to show with a little more time the savings. On BW, I think, again, this is a significant task for the university to undertake, as the president has indicated already. This is a change that will take some time. The steering committee, as well as the 2 co-chairs, have been working over the course of the spring and summer and have begun to work with their steering committee to give shape to particular initiatives that will, I think, show the community that the various public sessions that were held late last spring, in fact, we've heard the messages and hopefully you'll begin to see progress in that area. I think it's also fair to say a key element, although not the only area associated with the Better Workplace, was also trying to foster a greater and more effective relationship with our employee groups. And on that front, I think across both faculty relations and employee relations, a good deal of effort has been going in to those relationships over the past 12 months. And I think it's fair to say we're already starting to see some of the benefits associated with the work that we have going forward with our employee groups, who will be a very important part in this whole process.
Thanks.
Could I just add 1 or 2?
Of course, Provost Monahan, please go ahead.
We want to allow some time for questions. I just wanted to supplement a couple of comments to underline a couple of things that Gary mentioned. First of all, with respect to praise, and I think it touches very much on the President's remarks around the academic priorities that we do have and achieving those priorities. And resources, I think, are one of the biggest challenges. And so for me, praise is about ensuring that we are using our resources in the most efficient and effective way possible so that we actually have the resources available to us to devote to our priorities, which are our academic mission, our focus on academic quality. So that's an ongoing process, and I think it's an excellent question, but I think it's something that's going to be an ongoing process and will take a bit of time. With respect to the Better Workplaces, I think it's a related theme, because for me, better workplaces can very simply be summed up by the concept of meaningful work, and I think the President had alluded to that as well. And for me, meaningful work, and I think for most people, is the opportunity to contribute to the university's mission, so that what we want to do in Better Workplaces is to ensure that we are providing everyone who's working at the university with understanding of how their work can contribute, or contribute, if they can't see that connection now, how does it relate to the achievement of our academic mission. I think that's going to animate, and I think already has been animating, the discussion on Better Workplaces. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Provost Monahan. I want to give an opportunity. Is there anyone in the in-person audience who would like to raise their hand and ask a question? I do have more questions that were submitted by email in advance, but I did want to give an opportunity to those in the room. Yes, in the middle of the back row there. Could we get a microphone to this person? Thanks very much.
Hi. I just want to ask a question to the President, I think. So you mentioned how one of the most priorities for the university is the students. And as a new student, I think a great priority for me was put on the ranking of York University. So I'm just wondering what kind of, I guess the question is, how much importance does York University put on the worldwide ranking of the university, and how important is that for the university's mission? Thank you.
I'll give you my views and my concern about ranking as well. My view is that a ranking of a university, particularly large universities, is not, it does not really reflect reality, because any university of our size is really made up of so many different groups and units and so on. So when you say we are the leading university in the world, in what area? So we have areas, and many areas, and they are scattered all over campus, where I argue that they are the leading areas in their discipline in the country. Whether, I don't want to name, so I couldn't, if I name names, then that means I will miss some, and somebody will be offended. But just look around. In many departments in the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, business, law, I mean, you can go on and on and on. So ranking in a university in general tend to be biased, because they tend, particularly for a large university, it does not bring these strengths, but it looks at things on sort of a more average way. The other thing, all the rankings are biased by the component, the significance of the component of science, engineering, and medical research in them, and the whole area of research, which is, we don't deny that there are areas at York. They are not the greatest or the leading areas in research in their disciplines. Okay, so I think by definition, being a university with our current focus is a disadvantage when it comes to world rankings, and I don't think that in that sense, and even if it is not, I don't really believe that these rankings are reflections of a reality. That said, I accept the fact that there are many people, and I have faced that, and as I said, I only want to be frank with you. I have been visiting places, I've been in places in other countries where people really believe in rankings, and that hurts York University. Therefore, while I want to make sure that people understand, if you are applying to a university, you better look at the program you are applying to. And if you want to make comparisons, we have so many programs that I would put them against any program in the world in their disciplines. But at the same time, we will have to work hard as a university, as a community, to increase and enhance our standing in these rankings. I think, again, the focus on research intensification and the expanding science and engineering, strengthening what we have, will eventually put us in the right place that we really deserve.
Thank you, Dr. Shoukri. I have another question that's been submitted by email here. Will York be offering the new physician assistant undergraduate program in the near future? If so, when? President Shoukri or Provost Monahan?
Sorry, which program?
Physician assistant.
I don't think so. How is that?
Well, since I haven't heard of it, I think the answer would be probably not in the immediate future, but...
Vice President Tiffin? No. This may be something that we will be responding to this individual about at a later time when we have time to check it out.
Could I just say, I mean, we do have our Faculty of Health, and we have a very robust nursing program in the Faculty of Health, and I think Dean Skinner, who's the Dean of the faculty, may well be here somewhere, but
He is, right? I can see.
up at the back. And I have no idea whether Harvey might want to comment on the idea of a physician assistant program. Harvey?
We're not looking at that particular one in the near future. We're looking at a range of what we think are the emerging new health professions, particularly on the health promotion side. So a good example is called the health coach, and who can help patients navigate the health system, but also help them with their health behaviors, their families, keeping healthier. And a lot of that is using a new mobile technology. We're really world leaders in using things like the BlackBerry. So we're going in those directions. What we really see as getting into the newer types of professions that are needed to complement what currently exists.
Thank you, Dean Skinner. That's very helpful. Is there anyone else who would like to just raise their hand and get into the conversation here in the room? People are still feeling a little bit shy, I think. Still formulating the perfect question in their minds. And so I'm going to go on and ask.
Get one down there.
Oh, we do. Wonderful. Yes. Can we have a microphone down at the front?
This is, I suppose, a question for Dr. Shoukri and possibly Jennifer Sloan. In the work that I do with alumni, one of the things we hear is alumni are always looking to help the university. You spoke about some of the challenges that the university faces. How do you think alumni can help the university move forward on some of these challenges?
President Shoukri?
I think clearly alumni is part of the York family, and we continue to make an effort to make sure that they are engaged. It's really our responsibility to keep them engaged. We have 250,000 alumni worldwide, and I think continuing interaction with our alumni in so many different ways, by newsletters, going to them in the locations where they have significant numbers of them, sharing with them the York story, will all be part of our attempt to raise the profile of York University. I want to make sure, as much as we'd like our students to be proud of their university, I want our alumni to continue to be proud of their alma mater. And they are indeed. If you go, and as I have done, visiting alumni at different places in Canada or in the world, individually and in groups, they are very proud of the university. I think it is a responsibility is ours to put enough resources to engage them and make them our ambassadors. Because again, the name of a university goes up and its reputation goes up because of the achievement of its alumni. And that's an important part that we need to put more emphasis on. I don't know if Jennifer want to add anything to this.
No, I don't know that I have much more to add other than hitting on the point that Dr. Shoukri made. I mean, we have 250,000 alumni, and that's amazing in our short 52-year history. And these are essentially York ambassadors. And if we give them the tools, if we keep them informed about what's going on here, their memories of York, how proud they are of this institution is only going to resonate, and they can be our messengers to the outside world. We have a large amount of alumni here in the GTA, but we also have a large amount of alumni across this country and around this world. And sometimes we get wrapped up in the GTA bubble, and we think that everyone thinks, you know, just about the bad news. Well, there's a lot of good news. And when outside the GTA you hear about it, it's going to spread like wildfire, and that's great. So I see our alumni, as Dr. Shoukri said, extremely important, but we have a responsibility to keep them informed and share with them all the great success stories here at York.
Thank you for the question and the answers. Yes, we have another hand up in the middle. There we are, thank you.
Speaking of alumni, how can we as a university make sure that our student has a good life during when they are on campus, to make sure that when they become an alumni, they will be ambassador for us? Because often we hear that, yes, it's fine to have 200,000 alumni out there, but the life that they had when they were students, sometimes they're not always happy about that. So how can we make sure that as a student, they will say that this is the better university of any others?
Well, I think as I keep saying, by making sure that we create the learning environment that allow them to know the subject matter that they came here to study well, and grow as people and as citizens. And that means that not only the academic programs, what happens in the classrooms, what happens outside the classroom, providing enough space for the student to socialize and talk to one another and interact with the university. And I think this is an important issue. We have put some resources after the task force that the provost led earlier, 3 years ago. And we put, as a result of that, many resources in terms of enhancing the facilities for the students, the library, enhancing the space for the students to socialize. But we have a long way to go. We have to continue to do that. And I think, again, very frankly, I see the relationships even with student government getting better all the time. That was something that was clouding the whole experience. The continuous conflicts that I have seen when I first arrived on campus was part of the things that was jaundicing the views of our students about their current experience. But that said, so the answer briefly is yes, we need to work on what goes on here. It is essential. We're doing our best, and we have not done enough. We have to continue to do more. But I want to just say something again, not unrelated to the last question. I've had meetings with alumni, large groups, in places like London, England, Hong Kong, of course here in the city of Toronto, Vancouver, and so on and so forth. And every single time I go, it is again a confirmation of my strongest feel that York is a far better place than it is perceived by people who don't know York, just sitting out there hearing about a problem or reading a newspaper or learning about a conflict. Not a single one of them. And you know, people who tend to show up for these events are the successful ones. Not a single one of them missed the opportunity to tell me that she or he are attributing their success to York University and their experience at York University. Again, that doesn't mean we sit still. We have a lot of work to do. I don't know if Rob wanted to.
Thank you. Our Twitter team has just passed me a tweet, which I'd like to read out to you. Have you thought, and this is directed at Vice President Brewer, have you thought of lowering the price for residents to increase the number of applications? Low prices equal more students equals a vibrant campus.
I'm on my third microphone pack here. I've only spoken once. I don't know if there's a hint here. Obviously, there is always a concern expressed on the part of whether it's students in residence, but also in other areas where the university provides services, parking, food services, bookstore. There's always that challenge we face in trying to arrive at the price which will, in a sense, allow us to operate those businesses, if you will, in a way that allows them to recover their costs and at the same time give good value for students. Residence in particular is an area that has been the subject of some scrutiny. Many know that last year we took a decision to take the founders' residence offline as a result of declining applications. We have been looking at our residence operation in detail for the past many months. We are looking at all aspects of our residence operation. And in the course of that work, we will be coming forward in the fall with a new strategy for our residences, which will allow us to take into consideration not just the price of the room that we're offering and ensure that that's providing good value, but coming back to the question earlier about student experience, a good number of our students are in residence. That helps shape their view of York. But I think clearly the issues that we're facing in residence, are perhaps in part driven by price, but it's also the kind of rooms that we're able to offer, the level of maintenance and support services that we have in those residences. And in fact, if you keep cutting your price, if you will, you have less money to spend on things like maintenance and other support services in residence. And in fact, you could find yourself very quickly in the same place where people are continuing to move and look elsewhere, notwithstanding the fact that you have the cheapest product on the market because you actually have an environment that nobody wants to live in. So as part of this strategic review that we're doing with residents, we have reviewed our entire stock of residents, 2,300 beds, which range in age from about 5 years to well over 40 years, the nature of the accommodation, whether it's dorm style, private rooms, and so forth, and we'll be coming forward with an integrated strategy that will allow us to have our residents' offerings priced to provide what we feel is the best value options for students in support of the experience that they will have here. It's not an easy question. We're mindful of the price being an important consideration, but it really is a much bigger piece.
Thanks, Vice President Brewer, for that detailed answer. Is there anyone else in the room, in the in-person audience, the live audience, who would like to rate? Yes, over here in the middle again on my left. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to come back to something that has already been mentioned, but to put more of a point on it. If you talk to prospective students or you talk to alumni, one of the first things you'll hear is, if you do a degree program at York, you will endure a strike. And this is a perception that is actually tied to the reality of experience. I think a lot of people believe that labor relations at York are broken, and it is something that I think impedes students from making a choice to come to York. What do you, President Shoukri, have in mind, or others have in mind, to do to fix labor relations at York? You mentioned it in very general terms, but I wonder if you could say a bit more specifically what you think is a vision or a strategy for improving that situation.
President Shoukri?
Okay. If you go back to the initiative, Better Workplace Initiative, not that this is the answer, but let me give you a background how this initiative started. This initiative started, or at least the thought to start this, started right after the strike. I agree with you that this is a big problem, a historic problem that we all in this place have inherited. But you ask me what did I do or what do I have in mind? Very simple, because I came into York with all the aspirations that a new president will have, and first thing that happened to me was I was faced with that strike. And frankly, it's always one of those things that when you come into a new place, you think that these things happen to other people, they don't happen to me. But they did happen while I am the president, very early in my term. Coming out of this strike, and I'm not really talking about that strike in particular, and I looked at data you referred to, it shows very clearly that basically 70 to 80% of the York graduates who graduated in the last 2 decades have witnessed a strike while they were here. This is actual data. And so what do you do about it? I said, I want to know what are the underlying issues that cause a strike. Think conflicts in general. You can argue who was right and who was wrong in a given incident. But conflicts in general do not happen because one side is good and one side is bad. Conflicts happen between two groups or two people or whatever. So can we go down to what is the issue? We ended up bringing in, I wanted to reach out to the leaderships of all unions on campus personally in order to try and understand that and develop an idea. So with the help of course, Gary Brewer, I reached out to a guy by the name of Jem Thomas, who is a former Deputy Minister of Labor, who's an NDPer, who is known to and respected by a lawyer, known and respected by the labor unions, and asked him to help me, basically facilitate for me a dialogue with the leadership of the various unions on campus. I'm not going to go very far with telling stories, but the better workplace is a consequence of that exercise. But when I met with people and read James' report to me, it was very clear that this is A, a historic issue. B, it's an issue that resulted in, over the years, in total lack of trust between administration and various employee groups. It's an issue that polarized people, because if you don't trust somebody, you tend to take the opposite position on almost every issue. And it was a situation of continuing confrontation. I felt when we talked with leaders of certain unions that there are many employee groups that they feel they are not valued. I stand at the podium, or somebody in the leadership position stand at the podium, and genuinely express her or his point of view that we should value our employees, but our employees do not feel that they are valued, and that's the important part. How to make people really feel valued. I was struck by the fact that people feel that there's such an overwhelming feeling that people are not valued. And hence, we started the Better Workplace Initiative, trying to bring in people together, talk to people, make administration available. We really honestly, and I'm looking at you, I'm looking to a camera, I'm looking at you all, and saying, we really have nothing to hide in this university. And I promise people total and absolute transparency. And I will stay with that. And I think transparency, making sure that people appreciate the extent to which they are valued, making sure that people are aware that they are respected, creating a sense of pride at York University. That's another one of the things that struck me when I came. You ask somebody, and you probably already know that, how talkative I can be. I meet people in corridors or on campus, and I ask people, in the beginning, I was struck by the fact that I ask somebody, okay, so where do you work, or what do you do? And the first she or he come back to me with is the unit of a union that they belong to. I thought, notwithstanding the importance of labor relations, importance of unions on campus, and in protecting and advocating for the membership, but I want people to feel that they are part of the York family. This is not a job that can be done by the president or the provost and the vice president finance administration through sponsoring a better workplace. That will help, but it's something that has to happen in the faculties, at the level of the department. Every single one of you who is in an office or in a classroom have to make her or his part in ensuring that there are people around them, people who report to them, they feel that they are part of a family, they are respected, and they are valued. And I think over time, we will get better. It is not going to be solved overnight, but at least we're talking about it. At least now I can talk to leadership of unions, which when I first arrived, I was told that you shouldn't really talk to the leaders of the various unions because you are a talkative guy and they may catch you saying something and use it or misuse it or abuse it in the future. Okay, I don't think I feel that way now in my willingness to talk to all the leaderships of the unions around. Things are not perfect, but things are getting better, and I hope we will continue to move forward in this. I know it's a tough position, and I went a little too long because there's no concise answer that will put my feelings
I allowed it as it was such an important question. And I'm afraid, Vice President Brewer, I have another tough one for you from the email. My question is about daily parking rates. To park for a full day at or across from the Sutton Place Hotel at Wellesley and Bay is $8 if you park before 9 a.m. One can also park for the day within a few minutes' walk of the Eaton Centre for less than $10. How is it that one can pay less to park in the heart of downtown Toronto than at York University, a campus essentially in the middle of nowhere? Will you please consider significantly lowering parking rates so they are more in line with reality? I am not censoring the questions.
Thank you for that. Is my microphone working? It actually is a question maybe that flows from the earlier question about residence rates. And quite frankly, I mean, these are the kinds of concerns that we do have expressed to us, as I've said, across all of our operations, be it food service, parking, housing. Maybe just to provide a little more context, one thing that I should make clear to everyone is that all of our business operations or ancillary operations like parking, bookstore, housing are separate and apart from the university's core operating budget, which really underpins our academic mission. So these units are standalone, they're self-sustaining, and have to, in a sense, recover their costs on their own. There is absolutely no subsidy from the operating budget of the university, which is primarily grants and fees. So we do not, cannot, will not transfer to subsidize rates for the various services we provide. So in the case of parking, while the rates perhaps do seem high to some, I would say that our parking operations are actually quite extensive. We have about 9,000 spaces on campus. We have a pretty significant parking operation that has to recover its costs, staff costs, all of the maintenance costs, all of the security and closed circuit TV costs that are part of creating a safer parking environment for those that use them. And in fact, notwithstanding the sense perhaps that our rates are higher than others that people see, in fact, we just recover our costs. There's no excess of profits or anything like that going on with our parking operation. In terms of the comparison of the daily rates, our maximum daily rate at our York Lanes garage is $20 per day. While you might find $8 or $10 parking downtown, I suspect it would not be in a parking garage with all of the support services. In fact, it's probably a gravel lot tucked in the corner of somewhere. And in fact, our experience has shown that on average, daily parking in the city of Toronto was closer to $30, $35 a day. So I'm not saying $20 is an insignificant number, but certainly I think if you looked and compared what we're providing, whether at $20 a day at the high end or depending on where you go further out, $10 to $15 a day, I think it does compare reasonably. And just to give assurance that we are just recovering the costs for our operations.
Thank you. People are tweeting, which is wonderful. And I have a question for Vice President, Research and Innovation, Rob Haché. What are the university's plans to elevate York's reputation in research?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I think it is an important issue, and as we work, as the white paper announced, and as it's included in the university's academic plan, to build the culture of research at the university, which is to build engagement in research, to get more people involved, to increase the level of activity, and also to take advantage of strategic opportunities that present themselves, opportunities that allow the university to show its expertise, to take over leadership positions in larger research projects, and to develop the ability to lead the country and to gain international visibility for the research that's being done at the institution.
Thank you very much, Vice President Haché. And we have a question at the back.
Hi. So we know that when students experience meaningful involvement outside of class through avenues like the colleges, SCLD, and peer programs, that they are more likely not only to become more proud York ambassadors, but also more effective leaders and alumni, part of the family. So can you talk a little bit more about your plans for the colleges, SCLD, and other peer mentoring programs? Do you plan to enhance their resources for community building and building student leadership opportunities?
President Shoukri, did you want to take that? Did you want to defer to Vice President Tiffin?
It's a very good question, and certainly the colleges over the past 5 years, I would say, have served to form as a strong basis for our connecting with students. Big part of the connections we find, and there's a focus on the first year experience, and so a lot of effort has been expended on trying to assist students making that transition into their first year, and the colleges have been an important key part of that. We have ensured that the college presidents and our orientation leaders are directly involved in meeting with incoming first-year students over the course of the summer, and then they are directly involved with those students through the fall as well. There are some activities that are planned for co-curricular week. Student community and leadership has certainly been working with the colleges as well as other groups student groups on campus to develop things such as training programs for peer mentors, so that we ensure that our peer mentoring program, all of the students involved will have a solid foundation, and then they can move forward from that to develop specific expertise in the area in which they are providing mentoring. So the colleges have been and will continue to provide a strong basis for that foundation. I'll just give you another example. In each of our residences this year, we've coordinated with the college masters to establish learning communities within each residence, specifically to try to create that connection between the college, the academic programs, the faculties, as well as the residents.
Thank you. And to the questioner also, are there any more hands? Yes, down right here in the front.
Dr. Shoukri, can you please provide us with an update as to what actions are being taken or have been taken to ensure safety on campus is better than last year?
I'm sorry, I missed.
Can you speak up and repeat your question?
Oh, I think, so I understand the question is that measures taken to deal with the safety on campus. Okay. I think this is a very important topic, and as I said before, I will not accept that we hide behind things like the statistics, although correct, that is as compared to any other place in the city or other places in the city or the average of the city, we are a very safe campus. I'm not going to hide behind that. As I said, one instance is one too many. But if you look around what we have done, we saw this as an issue, we brought in a third-party independent organization in order to come. That's in collaboration with the students and other groups on campus, in order to basically advise us on what to do. And hence was the appointment of METRAC, who brought in a set of recommendations, around 100 recommendations for the campus. We took it very seriously. We created a group for implementing the recommendations, or the overwhelming majority of the recommendations led by the Vice President Administration, who has the authority to do that. He has this file. And if you look at the website, the safety website that we have, there is very clear tally there of what we have done with each recommendation. Now, if you look at really what happened in terms of huge increase in number of cameras, I think we have over 600 cameras on campus to help. We have the big screens in order to send messages. We are increasing currently the number of our security officers by 30%. We are expanding the scope of their operation. It's actually a very long list, and I will ask Gary to enhance lighting. So while Gary is thinking of what are the other measures to less them, let me tell you also the other thing that we did. Two other important things is we did not rely only on this METRAC report and the implementation. We created a safety council that reports directly to me, led by a faculty member, made up of students, faculty, and so on, people who are not holding administrative positions, in order to bring advice and oversight and have direct link to me personally in order to advise me about new ideas, how they see things happening. In terms of outside campus, of course, we are not, from a legal point of view, accountable for what goes on outside the campus. However, because a number of these incidents happen in the village, we created the so-called Town and Gown Committee, where representatives of the university, including students, faculty, and staff, together with representatives from the residents of the village, as well as representatives of the municipal government and so on, where that group are working with the City of Toronto in order to make sure that we implementing the bylaws that are required to regulate life in the village. In fact, I understand there's actually a town hall meeting held in the village to have this discussion. Moreover, even though, again, we are not legally accountable for what happens outside the university, we have extended the services of our Go Bus into the village and try to provide security. In other words, there are two things we're doing. One is following the METRAC report. We are doing many things on campus and investing quite a bit of money in making sure that this happens. We are also acting as a catalyst externally with the municipal government, with the local communities, and so on, in order to improve the overall situation for our students, even those who live off campus. Gary, you want to add anything, or Rob, you want to add anything?
I'm afraid I'm going to invoke my moderator privileges
Okay.
here. I do believe we're getting a little tight on time, and I wouldn't mind moving on if you don't mind, because I have a tweet for Vice President Sloan.
Okay.
Certain media outlets seem to enjoy reporting negative news about York. What is being done to better those relations?
Ah, great question. One of the things that we've been trying to do in university relations, specifically in media relations over the last year or so, is the proactive strategic communications efforts. And so this is ensuring that we have relationships with reporters and journalists. So we're making a concerted effort in that regard. So what we're trying to do is have that relationship before a fire is burning, so that when the fire does start to burn, we can pick up the phone and call and interact with them, and they'll understand where we're coming from. But more importantly, what we've been trying to do, and we're having a lot of success of late, is we're just proactively sharing the wonderful, great news stories that we have here at York. One of the things that I was so excited about when I came is that I saw this untapped resource of all these wonderful things that were happening, but we weren't sharing the stories beyond campus walls. And we've really taken a strategic look at that and really planned a lot of activity around that. So now what you're starting to see is more of the good news stories that we're pushing out from here, rather than us simply reacting to a lot of negative stories. And I think also because of the relationships that we've started and we've built with journalists, you've also seen the great work in media relations to suppress news cycles. So I think whereas in the past you might have seen a story about York that may have been erroneous or may have been true, but it just went on for days and days and days in the media. There was always something else. I think now what you're seeing is a containment, and we've tried really hard to keep news about York, especially when it's not favorable, into a 24 or 48-hour cycle. And that actually takes a lot of work. It just doesn't happen by chance. So these are some of the things that we've been trying to do, and we're having success. I mean, some days we feel like we're taking, 3 baby steps forward, and 2 days later we're 5 steps backwards. But the more and more that we do this, the deeper the relationships become with the media, both at the national level and local level. Never dismiss the strength of regional newspapers. They're a growing commodity in this country, and they're well respected in individual households. We're also getting far more active on social media. You'll see that we're tweeting, we're on Facebook, and I think that's helping get the good news story out about York as well.
Thank you, Vice President Sloan. Now, I have been given the high sign, so I'm going to have to make this the last question. Yes, right in the front row of the front row of the back section.
Hi, I'm wondering if there's a way to blend the concepts of the big business of running a university that President Shoukri talked about in his opening remarks with the small town mentality that this culture and community has developed over its 52 years. And I kind of think it speaks to the student community experience, in that if we get to the point where we're being so efficient that students are treated like clients and numbers, and staff don't have time to really engage with the students that they're working with, and faculty don't have time to meet with the students they're teaching, we kind of get away from what's special about our community. Is there a way to blend those concepts?
President Shoukri, did you want to?
I mean, this is a great question, and I think it is a very valid question. The issue is that I sincerely believe that this is not a situation of either or. I think we need to run an efficient organization, but our students are not our clients. Our students are our students. Okay, and that is why it is part of being an efficient organization is to free some resources so that we have more opportunity for students to interact with faculty. Something that we are missing in that significant growth, significant unfunded growth, I may add. Because the only way university grow while they're not receiving the appropriate funding is to put more people in the classrooms, larger classrooms. You hire more and more part-time faculty and less full-time faculty. The part-time faculty do not have with all the good work they do, they don't have the obligation to spend time with faculty members. So we need while you're trying to make the university efficient so we don't have waste, if you can minimize the waste, you create the opportunity to reach out to the students. But reaching out to the students has to be could be in the form of interacting directly. How can we use technology to reach out to students and create the environment? How can we create an environment where students can better learn from one another by creating group opportunities? There are so many important things. Your question is very valid. You remember I said something here about why we are here. We are here for the students. We are not here to run an efficient organization. Everything we do, including running an efficient organization, is for the students. If there are no students, there are no university, and there are no jobs. You have no job, and I have no job either. So the university is central to all of this, and we cannot allow an academic institution to be like a corporate entity. We will borrow from the corporate entity the ability to run an efficient organization from finance, services, and so on point of view. But we are not, we have students and we have colleagues and we have a collegial system that we want to protect.
Thank you, Dr. Shoukri. I wish we could take more questions. These have been wonderful questions, and I thank all of you so much for coming out and taking the time out of busy days to engage in dialogue. I thank the panel members and those who joined us by webcast. If you do have a question that hasn't been answered yet, there is a town hall website. I believe it's going to be displayed, the URL on the screen in a moment, and I encourage you to visit there. There's a place for you to send in further questions. The President wants to hear from you, so I encourage you to do that. I'd like to thank our student ambassadors who handed the mics around, and our Twitter team, and the President and all the Vice Presidents for making yourselves available. Thanks to everyone for coming today.
Thank you.